Be faithful with what you've been given, and you will be given more. You can also stave off some massive devastation just simply by being faithful with what you've been given. Let me give you a prime example, and you can parallel this to anything that you want. It doesn't even matter what it is. April 1st of 2006 was the last day of the last job that I ever had. At the time, it was not by choice. I was an excellent employee. I did everything I was supposed to. I went the extra mile on everything. I got frequent merit increases and things like that. And at no fault of my own, the owner of the company sold my job and everybody else's job to the highest bidder, which was some company in India. So one day we had this awesome job, or what we perceived to be an awesome job at the time. We had all the benefits. There was a lot of perks, excellent insurance, the whole 9 yards. This was a really cool job to have, especially in this economy. And then literally the very next day, poof, it's all gone because somebody else who owned our income and health insurance and all those things decided that he wanted to make a little bit more money and just sell everything off to the highest bidder, and that included our very livelihoods. A lot of these people had families. The livelihood of their family was suddenly gone. The health insurance, all of it, just from one day to the next. It happened that quickly. So, needless to say, I was very, very pissed off. I wasn't just a little frustrated. I was downright pissed off. I was angry. All I could see was red when they had that meeting to tell us that everything was gone because it wasn't a survival decision. The owner was just greedy. And I guess, well, obviously, with his greed, he sold all of our jobs off to India. I guess that was okay with him. No conscience whatsoever, but that's another discussion. So, anyway, there I was. I was suddenly without any money. Unemployment had run out. Unemployment back then was still only 6 months, but I never did find work again. And I eventually, ran out of income. It dropped to zero. No insurance, no money coming in, no nothing. Completely broke. It was really, really terrible. So here's the truth. If you're in a situation like that, and you think that suddenly you don't have an income anymore because of something that happened that is of no fault of your own, say your boss sold your job to the highest bidder just like mine did, so I certainly feel that pain. Um, the reason why I or you suddenly have no income has nothing to do with a fact in a scenario that you have no control over or that I have no control over. The reason why I suddenly had no money, no income, and all the chaos and stress that comes from that is because during that 5 years that I personally had that job, I did nothing in my spare time to build an income that I owned that I would not have offshored because it's mine and I own it. I did nothing during that 5 years in my spare time to build an income that I own. In 5 years, I could have built that income starting from scratch with nothing up to something that would have taken over as my main source of income. So when that day happened, then I'd have been okay. And if I wanted to keep my job, I could keep it and I could have the real freedom to really enjoy my job. Or if I wanted to just leave on my own accord, I could have done that too. But I did nothing. I was not being faithful with my time. Perfect example. Think about the time that you're spending. Most of you out there probably have a job, or you don't. A lot don't in this economy. If you don't have a job, first I want you to realize I need to speak some truth into you. And none of this is my opinion, okay? None of it is my opinion. If you don't have a job, you lost your job for whatever reason, no fault of your own, you were a great employee, and poof, your job is gone. And now, because of that, you suddenly have no income, no money, and you got all the stresses and chaos in life. It's not because your job was gone, no fault of your own. It's because you have not been faithful with your time. And that's something you need to get real with yourself about. And don't take insult or offense. That's how you poison your own life and you stay stuck. Instead of taking offense and insult to that comment, take personal responsibility. That really is the first step to taking control of your life and living it by design rather than default. Because if you're living by default, then by default, if the economy is doing bad, you're doing bad. If the economy is doing good, you're doing good. And even when the economy is doing good, it's nothing spectacular. It's not like a dream life. So you can't live by default and expect to get what you want and to live this wonderful life and these things that you dreamed about. No, you got to design that on your own. You really do. But you can do it with other people that are doing it too. You can make those human connections. But that's being faithful with your time and faithful with whatever else that you've been given, whatever the resources are, time, money, whatever it happens to be. You got to be faithful with it, and then you get more. And if you're not faithful with it, then time will eventually expose you. I don't care how safe you think you are in your job. It could be a government job, so you think it's safe, or it could be a job in the healthcare field because there's a lot of sick people out there. That is widely perceived as safe. At the end of the day, you still don't own your income. You don't own your family's livelihood. Somebody else does, and that somebody doesn't have much planned for you. And you know what? There's a lot of people that thought their job was totally secure, and they've been exposed for the truth that it isn't. A lot of people believe just a pack of lies about their life and about their security and about their financial stability. It's a pack of lies, and most people fall prey to that. And those people that fall prey to that, eventually that is exposed. That truth is exposed in a way that is extremely painful. A lot of people don't have jobs anymore. They took a cut and pay where they were already living paycheck to paycheck. So now what are they going to do? They got to pick up a second, sometimes even a third or fourth job, and then all your time is gone. You're not getting sleep. You're fighting with the kids and the spouse because you don't see an end to this, and you're stuck in this circular pattern. And any circular pattern like that is completely depressing. It is, and a lot of you know exactly what I'm talking about. So if you don't break that pattern and start being more faithful with what you've been given, you're probably not going to have much of anything more ever, or it could actually get worse. In fact, it probably will. So it's so incredibly important that you're faithful with what you've been given. And I'll tell you what, a first step prior to the first step, so this would be like a pre-first step for many people, including myself at first, is to just outright kill your ego. Because if you're taking offense or insult, you're making it all about you, and that is 100% ego. So before you can even begin to take responsibility and not take offense, then you have to get to the root of your ego, kill that root, and then you can plant new seed, something that has nothing to do with ego, and you can start taking on personal responsibility instead of insult. And then you can start really subscribing to some truth and actually listening to some truth instead of being offended by it, because none of this is my opinion. This is fact. This is grounded in the natural setup of the universe, natural laws. The universe was here first. You weren't here first. You and I were not here first. The universe was here first. So we got to play by its rules. And if you fight the natural setup, the natural laws, the rules of the universe, the only possible outcome is you will lose every time. There is no possible outcome of winning if you're going to fight the natural setup. So I've made it a huge point once I started to get that to learn more about the setup of the universe, and I've realized that all of it is meant to help us. We just have to pay attention, cooperate with the natural setup, and we win. It's pretty awesome. And a big part of that is just being faithful with what you've been given. Time, money, maybe all you have is a heartbeat, some good conscious thought, and a whole lot of guts and desire. That's enough. There's plenty of homeless people that went on to make billions of dollars and help many thousands of other people pay off, I don't know, millions and billions of dollars worth of debt and solve their own financial problems paying it forward. In fact, most of our millionaires and billionaires are people that used to be completely broke. A lot of them used to be homeless. A lot of them grew up in welfare families. They broke that circular pattern, man, and so can you. So if you do have some spare time, some spare money, some spare whatever, most of you have at least a little bit of that stuff, then you're doing better than most of our millionaires and billionaires started off with. So what's your problem? Maybe your problem is the fact that you have too much money, too much time, so you can still afford your excuses. How's that? That's some truth right there. And again, if you have an ego, you ain't going to hear that truth. You're just going to be offended, and you're going to take insult. So kill that God-blessed ego, because your ego will choke you out of your life. You'll never design it. You'll just live it by default until it chokes you out. So kill your ego and start hearing things like that. I'm serious. It's so huge. Do you have so much money that you can still afford your excuses? Do you have so much time that you can still afford to put off whatever it is that you need to do and keep waiting and procrastinating? Because procrastination is the cornerstone of all poverties, not just financial, but spiritual ones, health, everything. Procrastination is the cornerstone of every poverty that exists. So be honest with yourself. Kill your ego, or this doesn't matter. This whole video log won't matter, and you won't change a damn thing, and you'll get nothing different. Kill your ego. Find out where the root of that ego is and kill off that God-blessed root so it doesn't kill you and choke you out. Do you have so much time that you can afford to keep waiting? And do you have so much money, even if it's just pennies, but it's still just enough to where you can keep on affording your excuses and stay stuck in that circular pattern? You got to break out of that, man. And it all starts with tearing down that God-blessed ego and taking some personal responsibility. And then you can be faithful with what you've been given, your time, your money, or maybe you don't have any spare time or spare money and all you got is a lot of guts and desire, a really strong heartbeat. That's enough. I'm telling you, it sounds redundant, but this needs to be drilled into your head. There's people that started off far worse than you with nothing, who went on to make millions and billions of dollars, and with that, that's just the resources. The cool thing about making money like that is that it has absolutely nothing to do with the money. What it has to do with is a purpose that was attached to it. Maybe you want to be able to hire home health care for your parents so that they don't have to die in a depressing nursing home. You need money for that. Maybe you want to save the whales. You need lots of money for that. Maybe you want to feed 1 million starving kids around the world. You need a lot of money for that. Maybe you want to buy yourself a nice vacation that you feel you've earned because you ain't traveled in like decades, because you're just always a slave to the grindstone and never have the time or the resources or the money to do something like that. A family trip, treat your kids to something, put your kids through college, so when they graduate college they can start off in the real world without 6 figures worth of debt on their shoulders. What is your purpose for the money? It's not about the money. You need to make tons and tons of money, but it has nothing to do with the money. So I don't want to hear all this nonsense about, oh, money doesn't buy happiness and money doesn't make you whole and complete. You know, that's true, but the only people that ever say stuff like that are people who are dirt poor because, well, I don't know why. I don't know why they say it. All I know is the only people that ever say that are people that don't have any money. I think a poor person invented those sayings. And even though they're true, you never hear anybody else talking about it because it has nothing to do with the money. You know, if only you had more money, then you would be able to get the hammer and the nails, the tools, the resources to be able to get whatever it is, the cause that beats true to your heart. And it has nothing to do with money. It has to do with being faithful with what you've been given. So get on that. And if you're stuck, I'll tell you, here's where you need to shrink your ego again, or this ain't going to mean anything to you except it just might make you offended and get your feelings hurt, which is all ego. I'm telling you, your proof positive validation right now that you've been believing in the wrong thing and doing the wrong thing is the fact that you're broke. You were broke a year ago. You're still broke. You're, I don't know, unhealthy, chronically diseased by lifestyle choice a year ago, and you still are. If any of those kinds of scenarios ring true for you, your proof positive validation that you've been believing in the wrong thing and doing the wrong thing is the fact that you're still in the mess and things aren't getting better. You're not making reasonable progress in reasonable time. So just ask yourself that question. Are you making reasonable progress in reasonable time on what it is that you want or the causes that be true to your heart? If the answer is no, proof positive validation is in the fact that your answer is no. So you've been believing in the wrong thing and doing the wrong thing. And I hope that you guys cut that out and you start taking drastic, different action immediately. It'll make a drastic, you'll get different results, that's for sure. You can't help it not to. So that concludes this video. I hope that you shrunk your ego enough to not take an ounce of insult or offense, because that's not the intention of this video. The intention is to speak some truth into you if you needed to hear it. Maybe you didn't, but a lot of people need to hear it. And to invoke some kind of different belief system, different action, breaking a circular pattern that has you depressed and devastated, whatever the case may be. Be more faithful with what you've been given, and you'll get more later. The universe guarantees it. It really does.